Hi students, in this first video about population, let me give you kind of a rundown of what to expect for this week and the next couple of weeks as we talk about this topic. So population is an important concept for cultural geographers to address because it can tell us a lot about the economic structure of a society, the economic health, the level of development, which is something that we will talk more and more about as we go through these coming weeks. In week one, we talked about globalization and the constant and ever progressive interconnectivity that we have among nations of the world and therefore the people in those nations. And so this week we're going to look at some basic vocabulary and some abbreviations that are necessary for you to understand what they mean. You will find them in the week 3 folder. You see them on the screen behind me, but maybe it's a little too small in this YouTube video for you to be able to take notes on it. So I have this in our week 3 folder for you to look at and to copy down, print out, however it is that you handle that kind of thing. But please note that it talks about birth rates, death rates, fertility rates for women who are of childbearing age. But it also talks about not just these birth and death statistics and abbreviations for those kinds of things, increase rates for a population over time, but it also talks about something called gross national income and gross domestic product. These economic concepts go hand in hand with population. And so in the coming videos, we're going to talk about how we look at population densities and what it tells us about the level of development in an area, what it tells us about the lifestyle of the people who live in an area. Do they have a lot of advantages that development and industry brings, or are they living in a third world, here's some air quotes, a third world kind of scenario that doesn't have electricity or a grid at all, or infrastructure for sanitation and safe water and these kinds of things. You can tell a whole lot about the lifestyle of the you and me level of population when you look at some of the population densities that we're going to learn about in one of the coming videos. Also, the natural increase rate and the crude birth rate and crude death rate that are part of the vocabulary list that I'm referring you to in the week 3 folder. These things we will learn how to interpret in a visual format a couple of ways. We're going to look at population pyramids. We're also going to look at the demographic transition model and some health models that look at population growth and the way that negative health indicators can sometimes happen simply because population increases, and maybe there's not a whole lot of infrastructure dedicated to the health of a population, like safe water resources, proper sanitation resources, just garbage disposal in general to try to keep some of the contaminating kind of factors that can cause disease among a population. You have to look at the infrastructure that's there. So the word infrastructure, we will address that. That's a good reason to use AI, is to look up that word, what the infrastructure means. We're going to be talking about that, and some classical theories of population growth and the some scary things about population growth. If you've seen the Marvel movies, Thanos in the Marvel movies, he was major, negative on population growth. He thought that the only way we were going to save things is just to annihilate huge portions of the population. And so honestly, his point of view isn't so far off of some of the classical theorists that we're going to look at, and some of the pop cultural people today that are talking about population control or population bombs, for instance, which is a term that has been used since like the 1960s and still used today as an overarching controlling factor of some of the social policies and some of the health initiatives done by world agencies like the UN or the UN Habitat Program. So anyway, we're going to be looking at all those topics this week. Please take notes on those abbreviations that I mentioned to you. And then the next video is going to have some information about how do you calculate population densities and why they are important. Pay particular attention to why I explained to you that what you can glean from from examining the different types of population densities when you're studying them in geography. Okay, so I will see you in the next video. Bye.